Cheers. Hey folks, Nate here for your weekly medical news fix. The show where we take the week's biggest medical headlines and separate the "this could change everything" from the "this will never leave the mouse lab." Wow. Go ahead, like, subscribe, ring the bell, do the whole YouTube thing. We're gonna drop one of these every week, and by we I mean I am, because I have nothing else to do. And I don't want you to find out about the llama antibody apocalypse from someone less qualified to panic about it. Also, I'm just a medical student on medical leave of absence, so I'm bored as crap and like to shoot a variety of different kinds of videos. So take me seriously when I say, don't take me seriously. A lot of these thoughts are just knee-jerk reactions and haven't gone through the proper thought, experimentation, or discussion to warrant being taken seriously. Okay, now let's dive in. Because this week, the llamas are back. Believe it or not, I can say that, even though this is my first time covering the llamas, because we've seen them before. And by we, I mean you and me. You on the other side of the screen, because it's only going to be me watching this. So, us, we have seen this before. And, well, let's get into it. The news. Okay. The llama nanobody revolution again. All right, here's the news. A new study published this week reports that nanobodies derived from llamas and other camelids show potential for treating Alzheimer's disease. Researchers found that these microscopic antibodies, smaller and more stable than the human antibodies, could target and neutralize harmful brain proteins linked to neurodegeneration. The same technology has previously shown promise against viruses like SARS-CoV-2 and norovirus, but this new paper suggests they could also cross the blood-brain barrier, a major challenge in brain drug delivery. However, no human trials yet, just lab and animal data, but the scientists call it a major step towards potential therapeutics, whoever those scientists may be. Yeah, so Science Daily dropped a story about mini llama proteins that could treat Alzheimer's, potentially. Well, if you're anything like me, and I know you're like me because I'll be the only one watching this, you're thinking, here we go again. Another episode of Animal Secretions Saved Humanity. Animal Secretions. Welcome to the Animal Secretions episode. So small, so soft, so sexy. No. Animal Secretions Save Humanity. Anyway, now don't get me wrong. Nanobodies are fascinating. They're these ultra tiny antibodies from llamas, camels, alpacas. Yeah, I can name them all. Basically, the entire South American petting zoo of biomedical research. It's all up here. If you minus a handful of New World primates and bats and snakes, all the parasites, and mosquitoes. Yeah. You know what? Don't even get me started, because I have a list right in front of me. Anywho, they are small, stable, cheap to make, and can reach places regular antibodies can't, like the brain, where most drugs really can't cross the blood-brain barrier. Yeah, this is a science I'm not yet qualified to speak on, but hey, that's science, baby. Ooh. I hate myself. Anyway, here's my thoughts. I don't know. I was reading this and I was sort of going back and forth like, holy crap, llama nanobodies can neutralize Alzheimer's proteins. We're about to end neurodegeneration forever. And then the other half of me is like, you said that in 2020 with COVID, and you said it again with norovirus. And somehow the only thing that we've successfully been able to treat is my sleep apnea. Yes, folks, I have sleep apnea. I'm the first man in history whose airway collapses despite having the neck circumference of a large celery stick. Okay, not a small one, but a large one. I said large. What am I even going on about? Anyway, maybe it's like 2 celery sticks tied together. Anyway, when the sleep tech saw my results, she looked at me like I had personally broken medical science. She was like, "Sir, by every anatomical metric, you should be fine." She didn't say that. Yeah, my airway, stop making fun of me for my airway. You know, like, geez, you people just, you can't lay off. Sometimes you just gotta lay off. Um, where was I? Yeah, nanobodies. They bind. They're nano. They're like antibodies. They're little. I think it's just the large heavy chain. I'm not sure if it's the heavy chain or the light chain, but it's just like one of the chains. And yeah, they still bind the bad proteins. Um, they bind. Well, is it? It's always in cell cultures. Sometimes in hamsters, under a good microscope, under perfect lighting. Yeah, but show me one human trial where someone inhales a llama nanobody, gets smarter, and remembers where they left their car keys. Um, yeah, we've been on the verge of revolutionizing medicine since 2003. At this point, we should get rid of the llamas. You know what? No, I can't get rid of the llamas because the llamas have tenure. The llamas work for us, actually. Um, Here's what's actually really cool, though. These nanobodies can be inhaled, which means one day they might become spray-on antivirals or neuroprotective inhalers. They're cheap to produce, which makes them a dream for scalable therapeutics. And because they're so stable, they could survive conditions that wreck normal antibodies, which is a huge step for global medicine. So, yeah, scientifically promising. Clinically, not really, not yet. We're still somewhere between cool headline and hamster ICU trials. I couldn't think of something to say there. So I had, yeah, you know it. ChatGPT, write me that. Love you, chat. Of course, my brain was going back and forth with who I would call the jaded realist and optimistic scientist, both of which are probably wrong long term, but I tend to side a little bit more with the jaded realist. But then again, I could be swayed by new data. So I'm rooting for the llamas, Team Llama. But until I can buy an Alzheimer's inhaler, Llama Alzheimer's inhaler, Alzheimer's inhaler, just a regular inhaler, a llama themed inhaler, an alpaca-ler, a girlfriend at CVS. This is still theoretical farm animal optimism and should be taken with a grain of salt. Okay. Anywho. All right. I should turn on my computer. From llama miracles that may never happen to artificial intelligence. Yeah. Let's do that. Artificial intelligence miracles that already sort of happened, but we're mad about them. Are we mad about them? You decide. Yeah, here's the second story. AI is ruining doctor-patient relationships, says sociologist. Is it sociologist or sociologist? Sochi sounds like the name of a small Eastern European man who fixes your car for like $40 in a handshake. Yeah, that's my guy. His name is Sochi. His garage is behind a grocery store, and he makes his own alternators. That's my guy. I'm gonna name my next dog after Sochi. I like that name now. Anywho, at the AAMC's Learn, Serve, Lead 2025 conference, sociologist Allison Pugh, PhD from Johns Hopkins, warned that AI in healthcare could weaken doctor-patient relationships. She introduced the concept of connective labor, which she defines as the emotional effort of seeing and understanding another person, something she argues is being lost amid automation, electronic records, and efficiency pressures. I have thoughts on this. Well, let me continue. Pugh cautioned that while AI tools claim to free up time, in practice, hospitals will likely use that efficiency to increase patient loads, not restore human connection. Yeah. She also criticized overstandardization, scripts, checklists, and metrics for making care feel robotic, while calling for a social movement in medicine to protect empathy and meaningful interaction. Okay. So the AAMC ran an interview with Allison Pugh, who we're working with, a sociologist who coined the term connective labor. All right, well, I'll give credit where it's due. I do think it's a good term. It's a solid term. It describes the emotional effort of being present with patients, empathy, attentiveness, reading between the lines. And it's the difference between you have hypertension and, hey, how's your stress been since your mom got sick? But calling human connection labor, I don't like. It kind of makes it sound transactional. Like, hang on, let me clock in before I care about you. You know what I mean? I don't know. I could be totally off base here, but to me, it makes empathy sound like a billable CPT code, and then you're wondering why it feels dehumanized. But I don't know. Yeah. Oh, do I have to explain this? But I don't know. Probably should. For people who aren't familiar with CPT codes, it's basically the doctor's version of a receipt. So it's like the number that tells insurance what the doctor actually did, so they can get paid, and so insurance companies can decide how badly they want to argue about it. Is that the actual definition? That's my definition. Anyway, Pew argues that AI and administrative overload are eroding this connective labor, that doctors are too busy clicking boxes to see their patients. Totally fair. But then she says AI won't actually free up time because hospitals will just pack in more patients. Pew. 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 Yes, she's right. Healthcare has never once said, wow, we're more efficient. Let's spend more money or spend more time with patients, or even better, let's rest. No, this has never happened. Every new technology seems to turn into a way to see 12 more people an hour and still skip lunch. At least that's been my short experience. Don't take anything I say seriously. Anyway, I don't know. I think she could have rephrased it to, I don't know. The way that she phrases it in the article sort of leaves it up for debate. I think that if she had said, historically, efficiency gains in medicine increase physician workload rather than reducing it, and ended it right there, that would have been a mic drop. But I guess I'm not her editor, and I shouldn't act like one, and I should mind my own business. So anyway, I do want to mention this. I do have some pushback on the whole script thing. I think scripts are good. Scripts are a good thing through and through. I'm pro script. However, the script that Pew mentions does sound robotic. It sounds like physicians literally have a checklist of questions they're going in and asking one by one before they can get down to business. And I'm not going to act like those don't exist, because they do exist for sure. It's happened to probably most of us. I guess normally it's if it's a straight up list, it's probably like a tech or a nurse collecting the data. But I don't know. Let's not act like those don't exist. But by and large, that's not what happens at every doctor's visit. Scripts in medicine are supposed to be like checkpoints. They're not paragraphs. They may be annoying. They may be tedious. If you want to talk about something specific and you're in a rush, they're going to be annoying. But they ensure that we don't miss the must-have information. They provide structure for efficiency. They help new physicians build confidence. I know that firsthand. And I'm not a physician yet, but yeah, I am a medical student, and we do practice this stuff, and we are given not scripts, but checkpoints. And I think that's a major point. It keeps care consistent. It is super customizable based on the style of the physician. So it's going to be different from physician to physician. And ironically, I wrote it down here. When physicians don't have a structured mental checklist, evidence shows that they're more likely to rush and mentally scramble. They forget key questions. They focus too much on typing stuff out. And newer doctors or medical students might even panic a little. I once forgot my own checklist, and this happened. I panicked a little. I have panicked a little. So there's no arguing that it happens. And now, maybe this is a little unrelated, but I really can't think of a better analogy. So maybe if you can, drop that below. But like, you wouldn't tell a pilot that flying would be more emotional if he stopped using checklists. In fact, it sounds like a good way to crash the plane. I mean, we haven't even mentioned the protective aspect of scripts. Like, what if you missed some red flag symptoms, or missed some like dangerous drug interactions? Or what if you missed something like I probably can't say that. I don't know if I can say that. Hold on, let me rephrase it so that it doesn't get taken down. Like, what if you missed somebody's intent to self-delete? Or what about social determinants of health? Anyway, that's where my brain goes. Let me know if I'm severely off base or something. Or I don't know, maybe I'm actually agreeing with her and I just don't realize it. But yeah, she blames AI for dehumanization. And here's my issue. AI didn't create RVUs. It didn't create corporate quotas. Nor did it create the C20 patients per day culture. Now, that's capitalism and reimbursement models doing what they do best. I'm not going to say gamifying suffering. Nope, can't say that because, that's probably not going to be a popular take. I don't know. Let me rephrase. Humans did that. Yeah, humans did that. AI is not the villain. It's a tool. If it's replacing your empathy, that's on the system using it, not the code itself. Use AI to auto-scribe and summarize charts and flag at-risk patients maybe. And maybe that actually will free up time to connect with your patients. Maybe it won't, but it's definitely worth a shot. And I think at some point the bubble has to burst. But I also feel like I have to ask, just based on reading this article, I'm not going to read her book or anything, but I'd be curious to know how much interaction she's actually had with physicians and how deep her understanding of AI in healthcare goes. Because at least in my circles, interacting with physicians both in person and online, it seems like AI has a very, very, very long way to go. It has limited use cases and in no way is as close to replacing physicians or their emotions as the public makes it out to be. If you actually have experience with AI in the workforce, if you actually have experience with AI in the workforce, as a physician, drop it in the comments, what your actual thoughts are, because I think it would be valuable for everyone here, and we can all learn something from someone who isn't just some off-base med student reporting a few news stories because he's bored. Anyway, let's see. Here's a hot take. Yeah, however, well, I don't know. Here's a bigger question. And I know everybody's answer to this. Do we even want to make medicine more emotionally connective? You know what I mean? First off, I have to say I've had amazing experiences with physicians pretty much my entire life, except for one. Most of my worst experiences happen at, I'm going to call it PA or NP factory visits. No offense, PAs and NPs. But I find myself spending 10 minutes explaining my symptoms to someone who's clearly fighting the EMR. Seriously, no offense to mid-levels. Y'all have a very important role in healthcare. You just haven't helped me for crap. Not yet, at least. Anywho, I don't know why I struck a chord. No. I think the answer is obviously yes. We do want more emotionally connective medicine. Patients who feel heard show better trust, more adherence, more accurate symptom reporting, and ultimately better outcomes. Human connection is also vital for clinicians' fulfillment and reduce burnout. But burnout? Or so they say. Burnout. How's your burnout? Drop it in the comments. No. Now that's the obvious answer. However, and this is an extreme take, I know, or at least I think it's going to be an extreme take. Maybe some patients don't want emotional intimacy. And I say that because I'm one of those patients. Maybe they want appointments within a month. Maybe they want their portal messages answered. Maybe they want knowledgeable and concise doctors who don't waste their 15-minute appointment. Yeah, I'm one of these patients. I know others exist, and I'm on a tangent again, is what it looks like. Anyway, what do you think? Is AI killing bedside manner, or is it just revealing how little time we gave it to begin with, if that makes sense? If it doesn't make sense, I'll just write another question on the video. I don't know, drop it in the comments. Because I want to know, would you rather have a warm doctor or a fast and accurate one? I would rather have a fast and accurate one. So, all right, enough about human connection. Let's talk federal funding, which is like human connection, but with fewer results. Yeah, CMS, Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services. This is the federal agency that runs Medicare and Medicaid and sets many of the rules for how healthcare is paid for in the United States. If you don't know, now you know. If you don't know, now you know. Anyway, CMS. We are fixing rural healthcare with vibes. I threw in that part. Here's the news. The U.S. Department of Health and Human Services announced that all 50 states have signed on to a new Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services initiative aimed at transforming rural healthcare. The program will funnel billions in federal funds over 5 years to help states redesign rural delivery systems, building new payment models, expanding telehealth, and funding local clinics. CMS says the goal is to improve access, reduce travel time for care, and strengthen financially unstable hospitals. Now, I want to talk more about this article, but I'm severely limited by how long my camera records, honestly. So, I don't know, I might run out of time. I got 7 minutes and 44 seconds. Anyway, the Department of Health and Human Services announced that all 50 states are joining a CMS program to transform rural health. Now, it sounds great until you realize the words transform and fund are kind of doing some heavy lifting. Anyway, I've got some questions. First of all, why are the funds distributed equally instead of based on the number of rural residents, need, or severity of shortage? Yes, I wrote down these questions on a Google Doc so that I can address them. So suck on that. I ask this because equal distribution sounds politically convenient, not medically logical. High need states should, in theory, at least receive more resources. Am I right? I think I'm right. But if I'm wrong, let me know. An equal split, it looks like optics over strategy, and I don't like that. Someone who knows more than me needs to butt in and explain why I'm wrong. If I am wrong, please. Anyway, my next question is, where did it go here? How will CMS verify that money isn't just redirected to fill unrelated budget gaps or prop up failing hospitals? Now, if that's the case, I'm not going to say that's a bad thing. I just think we need to be honest about what we're actually doing here. Governments have a long history of repurposing funds, and I was going to list more, but I couldn't think. Without oversight, billions meant for rural care could quietly disappear into what I would call administrative black holes. I should go to Goodwill. Let's find a new jacket. I don't know why I had that thought just now. Anyway. Also, is there any independent oversight, or do the same agencies that receive funding evaluate themselves? Now, I'm a firm believer that self-reported success is not success, especially when it comes to the government. And if the fund recipients also write their own report cards, the grades are going to look exactly like they wrote their own report cards. They're going to look fantastic, even when nothing changes at all. And sadly, I think this is the most likely scenario. Now, what is this? Question number 3? Or 4 or 5? I don't know at this point. How is the program going to actually reduce the time that patients spend driving for care? Okay, they say that rural patients routinely drive 1 to 3 hours to see specialists, but funding alone won't magically create new doctors or infrastructure. It's complete bullcrap is what it is. More optics, in fact, more optics. I bet that when all is said and done, they're going to measure success in terms of infrastructure spending rather than patient outcomes. And nobody is going to be positively affected for the long term. And after the 5-year funding window stops, either rural clinics are going to collapse and the program's going to die instantly, or another temporary government program will become a permanent money pit with no real solutions. Okay. Let me restart my camera. Where was I? Sorry about that. Anyway, this has all the signs of a classic American healthcare move. Step 1, declare a crisis. Step 2, throw billions of dollars at it. Step 3 is optional. Hire consultants to study why nothing changed. And then step 4, rebrand the crisis and start over. Now, It's not that rural care doesn't need investment, because it absolutely does. But it feels less like reform and more like just a federal optics thing. And I don't like that. So, anyway, most states, I think it's obvious to say most states didn't join because they suddenly care about rural medicine. They joined because it's billions in federal cash with no downside. Politicians get to pose in front of barns, bureaucrats expand departments, everyone wins except the patient still driving 2 hours for their colonoscopy. The verdict. Uh, is it even a good idea? Is it a bad idea? Is it a good idea with bad implementation? We're going to see stuff. We'll see tech demos and data dashboards and maybe even a ribbon cutting or two. But if this program can't prove it shortens patient travel or keeps clinics alive post funding, then it's just bureaucracy disguising itself as compassion. So, anyway, that's your weekly medical news fix. I don't know. Llama nanobodies. Yeah, call me when they actually do something. AI in medicine. The tech isn't evil, in my opinion, but the billing department is kind of evil. The rural health overhaul. Overhaul these nuts? No, I can't say that. Anyway, if you enjoyed this, dare I say, breakdown, hit that like button, subscribe, turn on notifications. We'll be here every week, or so I think. So long as I'm bored still, and I don't have a girlfriend, and I'm just depressed. Maybe that's it. Maybe that's why I'm doing this. Anyway, go thank a llama. No. If you see a llama, bow to it. That single domain antibody king and fluffy beast might just cure Alzheimer's one day. I'm Nate. This was Medical News Fix, and I'll see you next week. Ka-chow. Ciao. This was Medical News Fix. I'll see you next week. All right. Man, who cares? All right.